As someone who frequently fell asleep on his partner's shoulder, Kunimi had slight advantage in the challenge for once. At least he could be sure Kindaichi wasn't going to be weirded out by his behavior, though there was a chance he wouldn't react at all, given he was used to it. But that didn't really matter. After the events of the past month, Kunimi welcomed any and all opportunities to stay close to his fiancée. And even though they were fine now thanks to time and therapy, he couldn't help the occasional surges of clinginess, which Kindaichi fortunately didn't seem to mind. The only thing he had to be mindful of were Kindaichi's freshly healed injuries. The last thing he wanted was to mess up his recovery. Aki, do you have a moment? Kunimi immediately stopped everything he was doing and rushed to the living room, finding Kindaichi hunched over on the couch, trying to pull one of his crutches to him with the other. So far, it looked like he was losing the battle. Don't strain something. I'll get it. Wait, no, that's not why I called. But Kunimi just clicked his tongue and handed him the crutch, carefully searching Kindaichi's face for any signs of discomfort or pain. Kindaichi sighed. You didn't have to. Of course I had to. I'm supposed to be helping you, remember? What did you need? Could you bring me the laptop? I would fetch it myself, but I don't want to drop it along the way somewhere. Nodding, Kunimi headed to their office where he saw the laptop last time, giving Kindaichi's healthy shoulder a gentle squeeze along the way. Now that he couldn't play volleyball or continue in his regular job for the time being, Kindaichi managed to snatch a part-time job in sports marketing thanks to his connection to the volleyball league. Kunimi wasn't overly ecstatic about it at first, worried Kindaichi might slide into regret since he couldn't play himself, but he quickly stood corrected as Kindaichi looked more at peace while working than ever before. He carefully handed Kindaichi the laptop, taking care of not letting go until he was 100% sure Kindaichi was holding it, a precaution born from previous experience, and plopped down on the couch, snuggling to Kindaichi's side. Kindaichi raised his eyebrow at him, an amused smile playing on his lips. Working hard today, eh? Kunimi shrugged. I can take a break for now. He paused and pulled away a bit, hesitantly raising his eyes to his fiancée. Unless you don't want me here. You can kick me out of here. I'm not going to take it personally. You know that, right? He wouldn't be happy about it, of course, but he respected Kindaichi's boundaries. But Kindaichi just chuckled softly and kissed his forehead. As if, but you might get bored pretty soon. I'm not doing anything exciting today. I don't care. I want to sit with you for a while. Kindaichi's face softened. He caressed Kunimi's cheek with the back of his hand and then motioned for him to come closer again. Then I see no reason why you would have to leave. Kunimi rejoiced inwardly and laid his hand on Kindaichi's shoulder, careful not to restrict his movement too much. About 5 minutes later, he closed his eyes and relaxed, trying to slow down his breathing so it looked like he fell asleep. To his surprise, it didn't take long for Kindaichi to notice. The soft hum reaching his ears told him Kindaichi smiled. Then, a light kiss landed on his hair, followed by a warm hand caressing his other cheek. Worry spiked in his chest when he realized Kindaichi had to use his broken arm to do that, but it didn't seem like he was in any pain. On the contrary, he seemed to relax too, as if it was him who was falling asleep. You really are like a cat, you know, able to fall asleep anywhere at any time. The soft whisper sent pleasant shivers down Kunimi's spine, making it really hard for him to stay still. But I guess you deserve to rest, for everything you do for me. For us. So sleep well, okay? Then, even softer whisper he barely heard reached Kunimi's ears. Love you, Aki. So much. He briefly leaned his head over Kunimi's before apparently going back to his work. Kunimi bit his tongue, trying his hardest to stop the pressure building behind his eyes. Aone was watching him again, just as he did for the last several days. It always sent shivers down Kenji's spine when he felt his fiancée's eyes on him, his mind always switching to high alert. It wasn't Aone's fault, of course. He had never done anything that would justify Kenji being wary around him. But as much as Kenji wished to convince his mind about it, there were times when it was much harder than it should. And after Aone asked him about kids, his anxiety reached the ceiling. And yet he voluntarily agreed to a challenge that could potentially send him even deeper down the spiral. But there was an ever so small chance for things to get better. For the most part, Kenji just wished to be held by Aone's arms like before, shielded against the world and his own destructive thoughts. And if he could get that by doing the challenge, then he had to take the chance. Even if it meant risking he would get his head pushed off. He turned around when he heard light footsteps behind his back, meeting with Aone's olive eyes, now filled to the brim with concern. "What's wrong?" Aone seemed to hesitate for a beat. "You tell me. You haven't been yourself for the whole week." Kenji's chuckle came out more strained than he intended. "Yeah, I guess I haven't. Is something troubling you?" "You could say that. I'm just tired, you know. I don't sleep well lately." Aone hummed softly, apparently very much aware of the fact. He reached his arm to Kenji, but then stopped, uncertainty flashing over his face. Taking a leap, Kenji met him halfway through and let himself get tucked to his fiancée's chest, the shivers running through his skin when Aone wrapped his arms around his waist, very different from the ones he felt before. "Can I help?" Kenji sighed and leaned his forehead on Aone's shoulder, clutching his t-shirt in his fists. "Probably not. Maybe just... Tell me, would you be too disappointed if you didn't have kids?" He could almost feel Aone furrowing his brow. The grip around his waist tightened. "You are still thinking about that?" "It's hard not to. Would it be something you would be really upset about?" He raised his head upon hearing Aone's sigh, worried what he was going to find in Aone's eyes. But to his surprise, there was no anger, no resentment. "No, it wouldn't. I have you. That's all I need in my life. Family would be just added bonus." Kenji staggered, for a moment unable to do anything but stare with his lips parted, his heart stuttering. Do you mean that?" Aone nodded before pressing a kiss to his forehead, and Kenji could about melt. "As seriously as possible. Having you in my life is more than I could ever ask for." Kenji squeezed his eyes shut, feeling the burning behind his eyelids intensifying. Even though he tried to hide it, Aone wasn't blind. He pulled Kenji under his chin, wrapping him in an embrace warmer and safer than any blanket in the world. Kenji's knees turned into jelly, his heart speeding up for a moment before his resolve crumbled, tearing down all the walls he had built in the past week. He clung to Aone, to the silent promise of safety and love his hug emitted, desperately wishing he didn't have to let go. Ever. "Sorry." Shaking his head, Aone gently patted his hair, a low hum next to his ear sending pleasant shivers down his spine. "Don't be. It's all right. I'm not sure what worries you so much, but whatever it is, I want to help. It pains me seeing you so on edge all the time. So scared. Can you just hold me like this for a bit longer? Please." The arms around him tightened, never to the point of hurting, but offering all the comfort Kenji didn't know he needed, but which he now couldn't let go of. "Of course. For as long as you need." Genji let out a shaky breath and finally allowed himself to relax, hiding his face fully in Aona's shoulder. You are awfully cuddly today. Matsun hummed in acted surprise, stretching a bit more into Maki's personal space. I don't know what you are talking about. I'm always cuddly. Definitely not like this. Come on, spill it. What's going on? Matsun gave him an innocent smile. He decided to start the challenge as soon as possible since they were sitting next to each other with Maki in the moment Kyotani set it up. He could take an easy route and just straight up pretend he was falling asleep, but of course, him being him, he couldn't let a chance like this go to waste. And so he decided to channel his inner overgrown cat energy, Oikawa's words, not his, and stick to Maki's side for as long as it was possible. He could afford it after all, as Maki would never tell him to move away. Nothing is going on. Can't I just snuggle to my boyfriend sometimes? So you just want attention? Well, not really, but I wouldn't be mad. Maki rolled his eyes, but there was no annoyance behind the gesture. Matsun grinned inwardly, resuming his snuggling ritual until he was practically laying on Maki's lap. It might not be a shoulder, but whatever. He couldn't keep the smile off his face when he felt Maki's fingers running through his hair. He glanced up and his smile widened upon seeing his boyfriend fully focused on the phone in his hand, and yet with the instinct to pet his hair. So sweet. Making a mental note to return the gesture later, he settled a bit more comfortably and closed his eyes, letting Maki to lull him into a somewhat half slumber. It was a thing he learned because of his nightmares, and it came in handy now when he could rest, but was also enough aware of his surroundings to hear Maki's reaction. If there was going to be any, that is. Well, even if not, it's nice to be like this, so it's still a win for me. He really felt like a cat snoozing on his owner's lap, but he would never change. Hey, Issei, check this. Matsun stayed still, keeping his eyes closed. Issei? Did you really just fall asleep on me? Oh, come on, don't do this to me. I can't move when you are like this. When Matsun didn't react again, Maki sighed but resumed the motion of his fingers, just slightly more gentle than before. You know what, snooze off. You had a difficult week, didn't you? I just hope you won't get any nightmares this time. You deserve to rest. Matsun could about melt there and then. He did have a hard week, with more customers than he would like, but he opted not to tell Maki anything to not bring down the mood. And yet, Maki knew. He always did. Oh, hero. He didn't have the heart to reveal he was awake at that point, and so he stayed as he was, ready to fall asleep for real for some time, when he froze. He had only ever heard Maki hum a song, though never sing. And yet, a soft melody in which he recognized an old lullaby was now gracing his ears, sending chills down his spine in the best way possible. Even if he wasn't pretending to be asleep, he would be stunned by Maki's voice. It wasn't on the same level as Semi's, for example, but he would have to be deaf not to appreciate it. Confusion flooded his mind as to why he hadn't heard his boyfriend sing before. You really are a man of many talents and even more surprises, huh? He kept listening on, his heart fluttering with every tone, and slowly but surely, he slipped into a nightmareless slumber. Contrary to how it may seem, Kyotani wasn't really hung up on doing the challenge itself that much. He didn't need to see Yahaba's reaction. He didn't need to know what his fiancée was doing when he was asleep. He just wanted them to be close, and Kyouhaba to get his daily dose of cuddles to relax him from the stress caused by their planning. And if he managed to make others' day better with the challenge, that was just an added bonus. What got you in such a good mood? He grinned over his shoulder and reached for Kyouhaba's hand, leaving a light kiss on his fingers before he pulled him to sit next to him. Kyouhaba's cheeks colored with the adorable pink tint Kyotani loved to see so much, but let Kyotani lead him on the couch without fight. He immediately snuggled to Kyotani's side, wrapping his arms firmly around him. I'm just really content right now. How enviable. At least one of us is enjoying all this. I have a feeling my head is going to burst any moment. Kyotani smiled, but still laid the back of his hand to Kyouhaba's forehead to check for potential fever. He was aware stress could cause one to fall sick, especially in someone as prone to stressing out as Kyouhaba. And even though they were planning a happy occasion, Kyouhaba was already stressed out, and the last thing Kyotani wanted was to have their wedding tainted by sickness. You should rest if you don't feel well. There's no reason to push through if you are just going to force yourself into everything. A soft smile curled Kyouhaba's lips when he looked up, the gentle shine in his eyes making Kyotani forget the world around them. Who would have thought you would be this caring one day? He playfully ruffled Kyotani's hair. You've matured, Kentaro. Well, I sure hope so. Being with you has taught me a lot about patience and all that stuff. Patience? Yeah, like how important it is to not rush certain things. Kyouhaba's smile fell, and Kyotani immediately pulled him closer, feeling him taking a shuddered breath. Are you sure you don't mind just a tiny wedding? I know you are looking out for me, and I'm grateful, I really am. But I don't want to ruin your dream if... Rolling his eyes, Kyotani clicked his tongue before lifting Kyouhaba's chin to kiss him, if only in order to silence him before he could fall deeper down the overthinking pit. Kyouhaba really did fall silent, but Kyotani wasn't blind to not see the not-so-well-hidden fear in his eyes. And so he cupped his cheek, caressing his skin with his thumb as he brought their foreheads together. I really don't mind. I would be fine even if it was just the two of us. And you aren't ruining anything. I didn't even think I would ever find someone to get married to before we started dating seriously. And now, I just want to put that ring on your finger for real, with or without any event. He pulled away a bit, cradling Kyouhaba's face in his palms. So don't worry about it, okay? We'll only invite people you are comfortable around and no more. It's supposed to be a nice day after all, so why ruin it unnecessarily? Kyouhaba's lips parted, but then the smile returned on them, brightening his whole face. He blinked a few times, his eyes getting a bit glossy before he hid his face in Kyotani's shoulder. You really did mature. Have I told you how much I love you today yet? You did, but you can tell me again. Chuckling softly, Kyouhaba straightened again and brought their lips together, the tender touch sending Kyotani's heart racing. I love you. It's kinda unreal we are doing this, huh? I'm not complaining. Though we should probably figure out whose name we are going to take. Kyouhaba shrugged, nuzzling into the crook of Kyotani's neck. Enough time before that. I'm afraid venue and flowers are more pressing right now. And the invites, and vendors, and suits, and... Why is there so much to do, Ken? Kyotani let out a low hum and pulled Kyouhaba to his side, leaving a kiss on his temple. How about you take a nap now? You've been up worrying since 6 again. You should rest. But... I'll send out the emails in the meantime, don't worry. Kyouhaba still looked hesitant, but then sighed and made himself more comfortable with his head laid on Kyotani's shoulder. Can we stay like this? Kyotani patted his hair, his heart melting. Of course. It didn't take long, and Kyohaba's breathing slowed down and body relaxed. Yotane smiled softly at his beloved, once again wondering how he got so lucky to have someone like Kyohaba in his life. And soon, they were about to make it official. Can't be soon enough.